So in terms of bands that you admire, I know that one of them is ACDC. Do you have any stories with them?
You know, Brian Johnson came on stage and played with Twisted Sister several years ago. And at the end of the show, Brian comes up and he goes, "I never heard a crowd, laddie, I've never heard a crowd scream like that loud." And I looked at him, I said, "Brian, fuck you." I said, "That's very nice that you said that, but don't, yeah, really." I mean, the crowd was great. It was a great performance, but thank you. But you didn't have to say that. But my bass player, Mark Mendoza, goes, "Whoa, man, my girlfriend loves you. Can you say hi to my girlfriend?" So he calls his girlfriend up, and we're standing behind the stage, and he says, "Carrie, I got someone to talk to you." And he gives it to Brian. Brian goes, "Hello, darling, it's Brian Johnson for ACDC. And she starts screaming, and he hands the phone back to Mark, and she says, "Don't you get your drunk English friends to pretend they're Brian Johnson. Fuck you and fuck him." And he goes, "No, it's really Brian Johnson. Fuck you and fuck him." So anyway, we're all laughing because it's pretty funny, and Brian's pretty funny. Someone sees it, walks up to Brian and says, "Would you call my mate for me?" And Brian wound up standing there for 2 hours while people were lined up asking him to make a phone call to their friends. Right? So those are the kind of guys that I think are cool.
That's so cool. Do you have any other Brian Johnson stories?
Well, it's interesting that the first time we got to Newcastle, Brian found out we were in town, and he sent a car over to us to take him to his house. Because we really didn't know England very well. We were on tour, and it was a bank holiday weekend, which means everything was shut. And we were kind of like in this hotel. And it was dark and grimy and old and cold, and all of a sudden a van pulls up and says, "Brian wants you to come to the house." And we went over to Brian's house and hung out, and he ordered takeout from a local Indian restaurant. And then he said, "I'm playing tonight," and he took us to this neighborhood pub, a little corner pub, and all these old guys, these grizzly guys that look like miners out of like Game of Thrones or something, and they're all playing blues, right? But they're old guys. These are old guys like missing teeth and cigarettes dangling out of their mouth. And Brian got up and sang and did a set with them. And the 83. We were on the Can't Stop Rock and Roll tour. Yeah. 83 was really cool. It was great. And then I've had lunch with him. And, yeah, I mean, when we run across each other, it's fine. It's great.
So in England during the early 80s, Twisted Sister toured with Metallica for a handful of shows, correct?
Yeah, we did 8 shows with them in Europe. And they opened, it was a co-bill, but they opened 7 of them. And headlined 1. They headlined the one in Amsterdam over us in Holland. Otherwise, so yeah, we did 8 shows. And well, they also opened up for us in a year earlier in New Jersey at the Fountain Casino. Well, John Zazula was a Jersey guy, and he signed them, and he brought them in. And I think we heard a bit about it when they played with us at the Fountain Casino. That was one of these clubs that held 5,000 people that we were headlining in. And I looked at him with D, and I go, you think this is going to work? Like, we're looking at it as a marketing shtick, speed metal. Like, will speed metal work? We're like, I don't know if speed metal will work. So I wasn't convinced that night. That night, I wasn't convinced. But when we did the tour with them through Europe, I could see where it was working, and they were good. I could really see it.
So going back to AC/DC and Brian Johnson for a second, as we all know, it's been stated by multiple sources that Brian Johnson is supposed to rejoin AC/DC, but due to this, unforeseen pandemic, all touring, all shows have been postponed for the time being. What do you think is going to happen when this pandemic ends? Are people going to be able to just go back to concerts, or what's going to happen exactly?
I have to tell you, Twisted Sister had stopped playing, obviously, before the whole grunge thing came. So we were not wiped out with the dinosaurs, right? And Twisted Sister is now dormant during this crisis. So if we emerge at some point, we will have emerged unscathed, meaning not necessarily negatively affected. Because could you imagine all these bands and all these tours that got screwed this summer? I mean, look, we know millions of them because we played with them for the last since 2003, we've been with a million of these groups, Whitesnake and Alice Cooper, millions of them, and they all had plans to be out this summer, which means that they spent money to put their crews together and pre-production and all that stuff, and all that's lost. All of it is lost. I mean, it's tragic. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if the era of the festival is gone. You know, you look at it at some. If I look at some of my shows, I see 100,000 people in a field. Will I ever see 100,000 people in a field again? I'm finishing my book now. Okay, and I'm excited. This kind of slowdown has allowed me to finish my book, and it's a business book. It's called Twisted Business, and it's about my life and how business has impacted my life and my business and the business of Twisted Sister and marketing Twisted Sister and all that stuff. And the book is about reinvention because Twisted Sister had to keep reinventing itself over the years. You know, there's reinvention and then there's COVID-19. Do you know how much reinvention is going to come on because of this? I mean, in every way, businesses, any kind of businesses has to reinvent itself.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more because there is a lot more to come. All the videos on my channel are original. I'm the one filming, editing, and conducting all the interviews. So if you guys like what you see and you want to support, the best way to do so is honestly just to subscribe. Thanks for watching.